How's it going?
Hey, pretty good, pretty good.
Hi, Berric.
Hey, Tilly.
Sorry we missed you earlier. But it's been a long day. It's been a long couple of days, to be honest. How have you been?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Just took the weekend off, so feeling refreshed and ready to get after it.
Hell yeah. I've been trying to do my best to kind of get a have conversations with officers, to get perspective as to what's going on with the PD in relation to the needs that they have, the future needs, all that kind of thing. I've in general, obviously, most of my constituents are civilians or felons or whatever that you might be representing, but I want to get some insight as to what are the needs of the PD, what challenges are you facing, and what would I need to do when mayor to make your lives more better. And I want to start with that, and then want to present my solutions and see where it kind of lines up with yours. I will say, Berric, just so you know, I don't kiss and tell. So you can be I'm going to be very open and honest, but I can promise you anything that you say here is not going to be, Berric said this,
Yeah, I mean, even if you would, I don't much mind.
Okay.
People need to talk shit. That's on them. I don't really give a shit. Personally.
Yeah.
But I mean, objectively, in terms of like the relationship between the mayor and the PD right now, it's not bad. It's definitely the best it ever was during his 2 terms. Early on, there was a lot of kind of tension between him and a majority of the force because he would talk shit about a lot of officers and specific time zones and stuff like that.
Really?
So
what?
That was obviously, I don't know, they created a lot of muddy waters and made things quite difficult for people around that time. But right now, I mean, we're getting paid just fine. Nobody's going to complain about that. Yeah. As far as things that you can actually help with, I'm trying to dig through just my mind if there's anything realistically, because our needs are kind of like car based at this point. So
okay,
that's to do a lot with the manufacturers overseas, because we can pay, we can pretty much pay for whatever it is that we need. It's just, yeah.
So look, I'm gonna transparently, I spoke to Slacks for an hour and a half, and the only thing I heard from him is moral bad. Oswaldo is gonna put events for us, and we need fast cars to fix the morale. And I'm gonna be honest with you,
I'm not gonna fix the morale. That's fucking ridiculous.
I don't know, and that's apparently the solution that Oswaldo is selling to him. Is that he's gonna put on events and get you guys fast cars, and that's gonna fix everything. And look, I'm already appreciating this conversation, because I swear to God, Tilly was present. I genuinely spent an hour after that conversation trying to figure out what the fuck I had just heard. Transparently, look, I need the PD to succeed, because if it doesn't, then I'm out of office, right?
Yeah.
And without the PD being in a healthy place, we can talk about what healthy means, then the city suffers, the people suffer, everyone suffers. So the success of the PD is inherently the success of the office. But in order to reach that, at least the way that I like to operate things is I need someone that I can communicate with, that can communicate down, but also communicate up. This is what we need, and this is why, right? Because now we can have an adult conversation, right? As opposed to emotion and all that other bullshit, like, you know, that unfortunately a lot of the city is addicted to.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, a lot of people act on emotion and instead of in lack of restraint to step back and actually kind of view everything appropriately and move forward.
Yeah. The other thing too is like I'm a big fan of like setting long-term goals and then hitting milestones to eventually reach it, because you may not
don't say a quota.
What's that?
Quota.
No,
don't say quota.
No. That no. I'm not talking about the bullshit. No. I mean, like,
yeah, that's something though. That's something.
We should talk about that.
Brought it up. That cannot happen.
Let's bring that up in a sec. What I meant by milestones and goals, I mean, I'm looking to run the office like a business. So as an example, like a chief of commerce, right? I would expect
peace and love.
We want
love.
Like we're aiming to do this, right? And to get there, we need to first do this and then do this. And you may not hit that finish line, but you have now left the office much better, in a place much better than where it was before. You know what I mean? That's what I'm referencing, not. But please tell me about this quota stuff.
Oh, I mean, like, there was essentially a point in time where he was changing a lot of things. Like our pay was pretty much pushed down to like 600 or something like that. And then this quota system was installed retroactively at the same time without really consulting anybody as to the details of it. And while the quota was not very difficult to hit, it does not push the kind of proper ideals that we were trying to instill in people at the time. So that was quite frustrating.
Oh my God.
We just kind of pushed past it. But I think a lot of people, I don't know what people's general opinions are on him kind of just retroactively being the police commissioner.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's certainly an interesting situation.
I don't know. Is the quota still in place?
No. I mean, there's nobody. He's, as far as I'm aware, like in the ICU. So.
All right.
Because the kind of motivation behind the quota was you hit this quota, your pay gets increased, but our pay cannot be increased.
Okay. This is going to sound very familiar, but you know, sometimes certain feelings extend based more on common sense. But that quota system's never coming back if I'm in charge. I think that just generates a department that is not functioning on policing, but rather merits that are not good for the city, quite frankly.
Exactly, yeah.
My general, if I could wave a magic wand, Berric, the way that I would like to do things, and I'm going to be a little bit more transparent, and I haven't done this with others, but I think you're probably going to need this info, is I am looking to get a breakdown of all financials throughout the city. And what that means is how much is G6 paying? How much is this paying on like a monthly basis? And that is something that is easily obtainable through the state accounts. And what that does is it lets me see how much money is going per capita into different aspects of the city. How is it actually getting budgeted? Because simply knowing like 600 an hour versus 4,500 an hour doesn't paint the entire picture, because that thing can fluctuate, right? Based on what the mayor's doing. And I then am going to be tasking whoever's in my cabinet to do this, to actually get realistic expenditure numbers, so we can really see what everything is making and where that money is going, right? So like, to paint a rough idea, sanitation, right? How is it feeding into the mechanic shops? How is it feeding into, right? And being able to then visualize that into a graph that literally everybody in the city is going to be able to see. So we're not playing with these figure, like just bullshit numbers. You know what I mean? What does that mean for the PD? If, now this is a magic wand thing, right? So bear with me. If I could wave a magic wand, I would be able to set a rate at which a PD account is funded. Are you familiar with the mayor's tools?
To a certain extent, yeah.
So
hold on.
There's budgeting, like very, limited budgeting that can be done with certain areas are being funded, and that includes the police department. And if I had a magic wand, I'd want the PD to have their own. And what that means is the state would be funding the PD that would be filling the coffer of the PD. And then the PD would then choose how, let's say, a cadet is making this much. This guy is making this much. This thing is making this much. And the reason for that is then it allows you, as members of high command, to actually internally budget. Are we going to pool up our money for a rainy day? Are we going to pool it up for a new helicopter or a new vehicle? Right? And what I like about that sort of system is, transparently, I'm a little scared with how much you guys are getting paid. Now, I'm glad you're getting paid more than $600, but I'm being told that people are walking away $500,000 like in a week.
I mean, the people that, put in a lot of time and effort, yeah.
And
is it a bit extraordinary? Yeah, I'd say it's a bit much, probably.
Yeah.
I
The
think
thing is, though,
between like 1,500 2,000 is probably a safe bet, but like whatever it is now is pretty insane, to be honest.
and the thing is, I recognize enough to know that there's going to be like patrol officers that are going to have a higher expenditure than, say, someone focused on something else. And that's not to say officers shouldn't be paid well. They should. You're putting your lives on the line. You also got some toolings you need, right? But the issue with just this like random number like 4,500 or whatever is that it can be funneling a lot of money and really just fucking up Los Santos's economy. And now all of a sudden, like, let's say you were paid too much and now officers are walking around buying up all the properties and all the cars and whatever. I'm not saying that's happening, but I'm using an extreme. Is that there's not really a good way to now pull that back. And I will certainly not be interested in like doing something stupid like increasing your armor prices by 5x to get the money back. That's dumb. That would be making the entire PD pay just because a couple people are $500,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But instead, I am going to try to wave a magic wand as much as I can. If you and the rest of high command or whatever, however that looks like, in the next couple weeks, month or whatever, is what if I could get you money going into a budget and then y'all decide how that gets distributed. That's assuming the tooling was there. And I want to push that very heavily because it allows you to be autonomous and, be able to do the micro yourself. And, our conversations become macro.
So with this budget, like, it just has consistent funds coming in like monthly, or
no,
is there some kind of incentive in some way, shape, or form?
The way that I envision it, and look, this is, like I said, pie in the sky, wave a magic wand, and I'm not doing that a lot throughout my campaign, but this one I am specific about, is that, let's say, I would be setting, let's say, PD pay to $3,000 an hour. I'm just pulling a number out, right? And based on the number of man hours that PD is on duty, it would be paying that out into the PD fund, right? It would be going to its own like account, based on the amount of hours that cops are on duty. But then the PD would have its levers as to where they want that redirected. So you could take that $3,000 an hour and say, a cadet's going to get paid $750. A full officer is going to pay $1,500. Command is going to get paid $2,000. High command $3,000. and you may budget it out in a way that some of that is actually building up your savings, and then as high command, you can decide how to use that as you see fit. You know, buy a new helicopter, buy this, buy that. You may find that you're not having enough money. Now you're like, you know what? We need about 20% more. Look, here's where our savings is. All right, boom. Let's get these guys another 20%. You know what I mean? So, is this...
Yeah, I think I follow you to some extent, yeah.
All right. Do you think this is reasonable, or do you think I'm thinking way too outside the box? Be honest. This might be the dumbest idea in the world, because I'm not a cop.
I think it might be overcooking a little bit.
Okay. What do you see as an alternative? What would you like to see?
I kind of had this idea my first week in office, per se. The money when we bill people, like years ago, and even when we return now, like when you would bill people and send them to prison, like the officer would get 15% of the bill. Now it is nothing.
Yes.
My
don't like
idea,
that.
Which I
That's
wanted
not
to put
happening.
forward, was like 35 to 40% just go straight into a PD budget.
Oh. Okay.
So that's essentially like, it's not personal commissions like it was prior, but you know, the budget would increase based on the work of everybody in the department.
So,
but also there's like another side to that where people will, I don't know, I'm indifferent about it, but also it was kind of a different time when we were coming up with ideas like that, because I worry about an idea like that kind of pushing people in the wrong directions and doing things that they
that's
would
that's my concern as well.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know.
We don't necessarily need to come to a conclusion on this, but I'm real. Berric, you're the first person to have like this conversation with me, and trust me, I've talked to a couple offices. Could you do me the favor of like thinking about this particular thing over the next couple days? Maybe we can re-engage on this, because I do want to find like a good solution. I don't know what it is. You've heard my idea. I'm not like dead set on this, right? I'm just like, here's an idea, and I like where you're going with it. I just think I am in agreement that it may cause officers to unjustly push for charges just to pump something up, and maybe there's a better route in between.
I'm interested in the idea of I don't know, I can see both sides to everybody in the PD getting paid the same, but also, you know, I think it would incentivize some people to do their jobs more effectively if people got paid differently.
Do you know why the previous administration didn't give you guys like, there's the base pay, and then every week like a PD fund gets like X amount, and then y'all like, I mean, that's like, why isn't that a thing?
They just never give us money. I mean,
were they not able to, or like?
That's my understanding. Is the state did not want anything paid for. They wanted us to self-fund.
That is so confusing. It was to
the point that we got a $300,000 loan from the city treasurer, and we had to pay it back after using it.
I feel like that goes against the reality of I feel like that goes against cops are not that much different than everyone else, right? And they're going to come on duty, they're going to get paid, and they're going to want to use that money in however they see fit. And so asking independent offices like, hey man, can you help us buy this thing that you might not be able to use, is so odd. So I can at least promise to re-engage in that topic, and if it sounds dumb, I will very clearly say how stupid it is, because I feel like there needs to be something a little bit, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense. And it's possible, knowing the way that telephone works, is that one thing was said and it was transmitted completely differently, right?
Yeah.
Like, it could have been as something as like, it's not a good idea because, you know, we don't want PETA to make millions of dollars, right? And then it got translated in, well, the state doesn't want to do it, when in reality, they just don't want cops driving around in supercars, right? Who knows? But,
Yeah, which is understandable.
okay. What,
I think, here's the problem with PD, like, needs and wants. I think pretty much everything is a want from a certain perspective. I don't feel like there's anything additional that we need right this second to do our job. Now,
wow.
if you're asking,
Wow.
what do we need to do our job more effectively, then you can start bringing in the idea of like the vehicles and stuff like that, and equipment and this, that, and the other. But I would classify those more as a want than a need, because we don't need anything else, in my opinion, right this second. Like, there's nothing specific that is preventing us from doing our job.
It doesn't matter. If he's barely around, why is he making more sense than people
like
that are?
I mentioned the car thing just because everybody and their fucking mother and their, like, you know, redheaded stepchild and their 3 cousins talk about, like, the highway heralds just jumping in fucking gauntlet, just blasting the highway to get away from them.
Yep.
But I don't think that's, like, really something we should worry about, to be honest.
I really like that answer. This is sort of like counter to some of what I've been. There's a lot of varying opinions of those that have sort of like hold, and I'm definitely on your side of this on the table here, which is, I presented an example, right? And I'm gonna kind of lean into some of the things that I want to change that I think are directly going to affect the PD in a positive way, which is I kicked a massive fuss up over FOIAs, specifically the lawyer's inability to receive them. At some level, there was miscommunication in the FOIA process, which, you know, it happens. But I think largely that was because it was never clearly defined and not in legislation. Moulton wrote some drunken bullshit onto a leaflet, and that was it. And unfortunately, there is a misunderstanding that things that that just because someone thinks, if you write something down and you think it's obvious for you, doesn't mean it's obvious for everybody else. And that's why things need to be very like crystal clear. I understand the whole gray area bullshit, but you know, we should be able to differentiate between, like, you know, China and America. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should be able to know what continent you're on at least. You know,
I certainly hope so.
And
that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, and quite frankly, with that, it wasn't the case. So hence FOIA came. I pushed for this common law thing. Now there's gun legislation changing, and the question may come: well, how does that help? Why isn't that bad for PD? You know? No, I think these clarities are fantastic, because the way I see it is there's so much absolute dog shit that's been produced by the sitting council. Quite transparently, they can. I think they wasted their time and they played in their personal sandbox, and it's relatively obvious to the masses. And as a consequence of that, most of this legislation was likely written the day of, and was not considered, nor was it reviewed by lawmakers, lawyers, members of the PD, etc., etc. And as a consequence, you have things like the business legislation, which, if you read it, okay, these are the rules. But if you kind of really read it as someone who wants to run a business, it's like, oh, cool. So the government owns 50% of my business. They can walk in at any point, and, you know, if you do any one of these things, the FBI is going to knock on the door and take your kids away. You know what I mean? And that's why the fuck do we have sticks and not carrots, right? I want people in the city to say, I want to get a business license because these are the great things I can get with it. I want to remain a civilian because of this and that. If we want to talk about, like, you know, the gun laws, G6 guy goes by as a racing vehicle and he decides to join a race. Gets arrested for reckless evading. He's now lost his G6 license. He's lost his gun license. And that gun license that he used to protect themselves against chain gang robbing their ass. Well, now what the fuck are they going to do? Are they going to, like, just take it? Are they going to get blasted? They're probably going to end up with an illegal gun, and before you know it, they're shooting cops. The legislation today, I think, is generating criminals. And, in turn, generating calls for the police department to respond to it. And I think with a lot of comprehensive review of existing legislation, repealing some of it, and putting into place more comprehensive laws that protect the civilians is the move. Because I think right now, it's almost like PD is protecting ghosts, civilians that don't actually exist. Do you get what I mean by that? Like,
yeah,
it's saying like this is it's like defining a civilian that doesn't actually exist in Los Santos and saying the laws are protecting this, right? I'm not saying the PD's doing it. I'm saying the legislation is like forcing your hand.
pretty much. Yeah, I mean, people are fucked to a certain extent once they make that like first mistake, if you will, or they get caught up in the wrong kind of situation, and it's just over.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to the moral, like the PD morale question, I think indirectly it is always going to be a thing. But right now, like I've been hearing, like people are like complaining about like, oh my God, these charges, and I'm like, man, I feel like it's very straightforward. Like people are upset that they're getting charges pressed that is so gray that even the office is like, I'm pretty sure this is going to stick. Because the law is so like broadly open, and the criminal's like, wait, I don't think that's true. And now you got to go through the whole like fucking song and dance to get clarity on it.
Yeah,
I think that the law is quite frankly way too vague, and I don't mean the penal code in general, but I mean a lot of this legislation. And so that's kind of my view of things, right? Is that things getting a little bit more well defined means, there's going to be less confusion, less friction between the two.
Yeah, it's going to make things easier.
Yeah,
I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. What else do you see? So we kind of talked about like legislation a bit, budgeting a bit.
It's some fucking construction I've been trying to get done in Mission Row for like a month and a half. 2 months.
Which is
2.5
damn
months.
office.
I don't have a fucking office. I've never had a fucking office. There's just certain like, there's a lot of.
You see this behind me?
There's not a single office.
I want you
in
to.
that bitch.
I want you to read that. Go ahead and read the little placard right there. This is me just fucking with him right here.
In honor of those who serve and protect City of Los Santos Police Administration Building, Police Department. This is a police building? I thought this was government building this entire time.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Who the fuck is Marcus Cambridge?
Who fucking knows? You ever gone to the courthouse? You know the U.S. Constitution is all over the place.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, everything's confused. So when you say an office, you mean in Mission Road directly, or do you mean like a high command building?
Just in Mission Row.
Transparently,
Listen, man. Listen. This fucking sheriff's office was there for months. I fucking tell you. And they have a fucking office. I don't even have a fucking office. You know what I have? I have a fucking closet. Okay? A fucking closet. All I want is just a little.
Wait, hold on a second. You're telling me. No, wait. Do you mind after this? Can we do a walkthrough of Mission Row? Like how do you not have an office?
Beats fucking me, man. All I want is a fucking office.
How the fuck is it not an office?
I don't know. All I want is a fucking office next to the big window, so I can just sit there.
I'm gonna
and
get
look
you a
outside.
fucking. I'm gonna get you an office.
Okay.
I think
All right.
that's extremely reasonable. However, that brings the next question: who's gonna be the next commissioner?
I mean, do we need one?
Yes. And the reason I say so is I don't see Max holding that onto that position. And I do think there needs to be a singular voice whose primary job is not to run around with a Class 2 firearm going on personal vendettas, but rather somebody that can communicate concerns, desires, needs from high command, collate it, and communicate it to the, to the office. And then can communicate back. If I'm going to be honest with you, so far you are the only person that if I had to put a gun to my head, would fit that role. Now I'm not trying to pump you up here, Berric.
No.
But I am going to be honest with you. Some of the conversations that I've had to have has been met with a lot of defensiveness and a lot of problems, but no fucking solutions. And that makes it impossible for anyone to make actionable. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's basically been my tenure is a lot. There's been a decent amount of people to provide solutions, and I'm very happy about it. The people that provide just problem after problem without solution, they're honestly at this point just being met with a brick wall, because I will listen to them, but I'm not going to give them as much of my time as I would if they had like an actual solution.
Yeah. It's kind of like, to me, like the commissioner role is the one that listens and takes in all the bullshit, filters it, so that those who do not know what's happening in the police department can understand and get like straight to the actionable facts. I mean, another way to portray it is like, I get this impression that like I need to know every detail about how the PD functions and all these kind of things, which don't get me wrong, I'm interested in it, but I can't just like, I'm not a fucking cop. I don't know what's going on in there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, it really comes down to what is your description of that position.
Yeah.
And if that description you just laid out is your description for the position, then I do think I'm the right person for the job.
Okay.
Because it was originally, when this idea was first preached to me, when they asked me if I wanted to do it, it was for commissioner. It was not for chief of police. Well, and the day that it was decided upon that, I was going to be the commissioner, it was changed to chief of police.
So I will say this much. Obviously, I don't want you walking away thinking I'm going to put your name up, but I do want to make it clear that I really fucking appreciate this conversation. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. And, but that is kind of the vision I see for it. How much say I got to it? Literally nobody knows, right? There's like PCP 2.0, whatever. But I'm a very aggressively goals-oriented individual, as has been seen with the legislation. I've got my fingerprint on 10% of legislation now in the last 2 weeks. I do not take no. I say, give me what we're trying to do, and let's try to fucking achieve that, or at least try our best. So, I want to make sure that y'all succeed. Now, obviously, we're not going to always see eye to eye, but that's okay. I want that. I like argument, adult argument. The old school kind where you can fucking yell at each other, but at least walk away shaking hands, better understanding where the other person stands. Not this emotion.
That's how it should be.
Based
I'm
bullshit.
not somebody that. I'm somebody that will always lean into and prefer to have the uncomfortable conversations. I'm not somebody to shy away from conflict either when it comes to verbal communication and stuff like that. So,
could you send a message to Slacks for me? I know he wants to talk to me about that interrogation, but he can kindly suck my dick and stop wasting my time.
What?
I've spent a total of 2.5 hours with him, and not a single thing has been done. We need more people like you, Berric. I mean, I value my time. You know what I mean? So, if he does
Good morning,
complain, that's kind of my reason for it. Oh, and me and Belle were chatting yesterday about 12 hours ago.
What the
Oh,
hell?
Belle.
Hey, welcome back. I see you got your power back on.
What?
Oh, okay. Bye, Belle.
I imagine that must have been real awkward for her. Yeah, she, you know.
Yeah, that's the second time that's happened.
She's a
I was
really
like-
good one, Berric. I'm going to tell you that right now. She's a very good one.
Oh, yeah.
I wish there was more people like her. I want to. I think it's important for me to give you an example of what my interaction with her. I had a client get absolutely demolished by an ambulance.
I just realized I wasn't. Sorry.
Yep, no
I did
worries.
not mean to do that.
Hey, if you're free in like 10 minutes, I'd love to chat.
Okay. I gotta do something real quick.
Do your thing. Do your thing. I'll give you a call.
All right. Sorry.
Yep. I had a client get absolutely demolished by an ambulance. That ambulance then dipped out. I got a call, went down there. The guy's like fucked up.
What?
His car is literally smoking and is completely destroyed. We called 911 for both an officer to take a, no, because he's thinking about suing and all this. She comes down, makes a police report. Ambulance comes down. We have a little bit of back and forth as to why she identifies who it was, follows up with phone call, gets the reports done. It was amazing. And despite some disagreements, as to what the next steps were, it was extremely professional. So I want to point that out because I think it's important to point out the, she's great.
Yeah. I think everybody in the department shares the same sentiments.
Step 5, thank you for the 1 year. All right.
Talk of the town as of recent as well.
All right. Well, shit.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me? Like, you can ask me anything. As long as it's not Wise Lang Buddha wanting to vote for you.
What? Somebody ask you that?
Yeah, Slex. I don't know. I don't know. He's a nice guy, but the entire conversation with him and Coyote was, tell me why Lang Buddha, who, by the way, isn't a felon, is supporting you, and what is it that you want, and keep in mind, I ran my own mechanic shop, the first, functioning business in Los Santos with 60 employees for 2 years, and now I'm a lawyer. What the fuck? I don't know. I think he's in love with me. That's the only way that I can.
Pretty sure he has a boyfriend. I think.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I'm just
Well, I
saying.
suppose
And then
what
he
does that
was.
stop
And then he
anybody
goes,
these days,
Tilly,
though?
why are you over here? I'm telling you,
Yeah,
Berric,
I mean-
2.5 hours between yesterday's conversation and one before that. He just wants to talk to me, but it doesn't go anywhere. There's no point that's made. It's just a lot of nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of talking, but not a lot of walking,
Yeah.
except the way.
Yeah. I'm into tits and ass. You know what I'm saying? Like the diner.
Yeah. I mean, same.
Yeah.
But I know I say that as I'm married to 50 men, but it's beside the point.
Flop, I want to point him out as well. Yesterday, he absolutely blew my mind. He responded to me and Tilly actually being downed after a car accident, actually a bike accident. And he came over, made sure we were good. And go back to my bike, and Flop had not only propped it back up, but he had repaired it for us, which I don't. Hey, I'm free now if you are.
Yeah, also, you want to have that meeting you wanted to talk about?
Yep.
The more important shit?
Absolutely. What's your ping number?
216.
216. All right. Give me 5 minutes. I'm just chatting with Berric.
All right, sounds good.
All right. I appreciate it. Bye. Sorry, what were you saying? Oh yeah. Do you have any other questions for me? Like, I mean, whatever it is, campaign. What are my plans for this, that, outside of the PD and the PD? I'm an open book.
Who's gonna be your chief of staff?
Kidacha.
Really?
Yep.
It's my daughter.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, she my reasons are very simple. She's passionate about protecting people. She's an ex-cop, so she gives me perspective that I would not otherwise have. And she is the foil to my other side of the, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could come in like very pro civilian, pro like protecting like even felons or whatever, and she can give me the other perspective, so I'm not going too far off the deep end. So I think it makes for a very good balance.
Yeah, she can be the yin to your yang.
Yep, absolutely.
In a lot of ways. Mr. K.
Hey.
How you doing, Berric?
Not too
How you doing,
bad, not
Baldy?
too bad. Just call him bald.
It's Jay.
He is baldy.
What the hell?
Just slightly. Just slightly.
Just a little bit. Cover up your hairline. It's a good look.
Berric, I'm
What
gonna
do you
have.
think about the other city council positions?
There's a lot of discussion about that. Some of which, what do you mean? Well, I think it's non-representative democracy, given the fact that many of those seats are fulfilled by the state. Oh, what do I think about the people holding those positions?
Yeah.
Yeah, right now.
They all got to go except for Kanta, who's already stepping
I'll be
down.
right back.
Okay.
The exception to that may be Cornwood, but I have yet to speak to him, so I haven't made a determination. I have noticed that he has voted against the rest, so that gives me some confidence that he's got an independent voice. I'm also open to Glenn, but he's instated by Crane, who I think as oh wait, you know there's a new treasurer, right?
No.
Yeah, there's some guy named Glenn. I don't really know him that well, but
Okay.
yeah, most of them I gotta go. Murphy's useless. Crane has turned into the Biden of Los Santos, and yeah, then obviously the rest of the positions are like mayoral and stuff. So
Okay, so who would replace them?
well, who they vote in, right? I trust Cantor's decision making. The reality of the matter is, I don't know who would step in for, you know, if Crane steps down or whatever the fuck happens with him. Bailey wouldn't be bad, I think. I think there's a lot of people that can fill that hole, to be honest. But in terms of like the judiciary, my primary concern with it, and to give you an idea, is with this whole FOIA debacle, which we missed a lot of it. It got fucking intense. There was a lot of too much memeing for my taste for the betterment of the city, like in that came before the betterment of the city. So a lot of self-servingness as opposed to how do we make things better. And ultimately landed in me finding out that Bailey had actually done all the work and it got plagiarized. So that left a extremely bad taste in my mouth.
Really?
Yeah. And I got evidence. I got both copies. So it's not like someone told me this. I've got the evidence. So I generally believe that there is a these are my opinions on the judiciary. I don't have any power over this, right? Just to be clear. But
obviously.
I'm a big fan of transparency because I think transparency only leads to good. For example, legislation gets written. We should know who the underwriters are. Not for any other reason than you should be able to make contact with them and have a direct conversation with the writer. But otherwise, it turns into a game of telephone. It turns into you need this specific person to now enact change or even start a conversation. And none of that is inherently efficient. So, in terms of the head of bar, I know Roman's put his hat in, and we and many of the lawyers want to get together and kind of like workshop. I want to see that you might like this. I want to really empower the existing lawyers to feel like they have more say in the legislative process. And what that means is empower them to, on behalf of their clients, be them businesses, individuals, be it on behalf of the police department, actually write and propose legislation which they among themselves can peer review. So by the time it hits the desk of the consul, it's already 90% baked, right? And to me, that's rather common sense, and a very common sense alternative to spending a council meeting writing bullshit that 8 people decided on. Like take for example, right? You hire on, you got your own attorney, someone you trust. Doesn't even need to be an attorney. Anyone can write, right? Doesn't even need to be bar certified. Write up some legislation that would benefit the police department, or even alterations to existing ones. Get it peer reviewed and prop it up. Now it's sitting there. Someone can present it. Here's why. Here are the reasons why, and then the consul votes on it. Like why should the consul be writing? That's what the fuck government in the entirety of the world functions that way. It doesn't, and there's a good reason for that.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how things go.
Yeah.
When's the actual?
Hey, sorry I'm late, guys.
Supposed to be?
No
problem.
I think like 2 weeks and plus some, and I'm going to be publicly announcing in the next couple days. Every one of my platform points is going to be available on a website, not only so that y'all can, the entire public can hold me accountable to what I'm aiming for, but also so that if they want to dive into the details, or they may have missed something, or maybe didn't have a chance to speak to me, they can know what it's all about.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, one last thing. Eve Summers is going to be running my Department of Commerce.
Eve Summers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rick's not here, Richard.
Oh yeah, I want to get the psych department up and going.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
No,
Why?
after
We
this
really
meeting.
need that.
There's going to be a
part of the
psychiatrist.
Would you like to join?
It's long
Oh, that's still
overdue.
not open.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nino, I'm part of the ERP Busters, okay? I'm putting a stop to it.
Oh, what is that supposed? Tilly, what the fuck?
What? What did I do?
He's here because of you, Tilly.
Did you get
I
a
didn't do
reading over here,
anything.
Richard?
Yeah, they said they were about to ERP after this. There's going to be a
Aw,
whole bunch
shit.
of slimers.
I mean,
No,
you guys
thank you,
trying to
I'm
join?
married.
What's going on here?
He's just here for our safety protection. Make sure there's no ERP going.
Okay. All right. I respect it.
Sorry, guys. Continue.
Yep. No, I think we're just wrapping up. Eric, I'm available if you want to reconvene, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, probably
just
at
give me
some
a call.
point soon. I got a lot of
Okay.
work to do, but yeah,
Hell yeah.
that's
All right.
good.
I appreciate it.
All right,
Thank you for
take
your
care.
time, Berric. You stay
Thanks,
safe.
Barrett.
Anytime.